wanted to do is just open the discussion by going to each of the panellists and getting their views on whether or not we should care about the next generation of consumers. Why is it important to start thinking about them at this point? So David, I might open with you.
Okay, great, thanks Fleur. For us it's really important. They're already making decisions about their brand of telco. Traditionally it's usually when they first hit high school. It can happen earlier than that, so Generation Z has already made a call. For us it's also really important because there's parental influence and we don't want to replicate the shares of Generation X or the baby boomers, so what we need to do is come up with products that actually appeal to this. And what we're finding is that this market, as it grows from Generation Y, is extraordinarily savvy about not just from a tech savvy but also a price savvy and what's available across all the carriers. So things such as data plans, free social networking, free text mail, on-net free calling is really all important for us. So it's something that we need to, and we do, try to promote.
Thanks David. Jeff, what's your view?
Well, as we saw, this generation of consumers, the Generation Z, is considerably different to the preceding generations, even Generation Y. And this generation is going to be the consumers of all goods and services in Australia in the future. So they've got a very different outlook, attitude, beliefs to previous generations, and so marketing companies and brands are going to need to change the way they position themselves and communicate themselves, so they make sure that their brand messages resonate correctly with this user group. And because authenticity is so important to this group, it's not sort of a quick makeover that any brand or company can do. You can't just quickly do a new TVC or a new ad campaign and have the Gen Z think differently of you. You have to live and breathe the values of Generation Z and have that reflected in all elements of your marketing mix, your corporate philosophy and your communication mix. And that's something that's going to take a long while to do, so you need to start thinking about this generation now.
My next question, I guess, has sort of been partially answered in the beginning, but does Gen Z exist? I mean, there's quite a lot of debate as to what the next generation should be called. Do we like the name? Do we think that they do exist as a tight demographic? Do we agree with the fact that they sort of start 19 years and under where Gen Y leaves off? What are your thoughts? I guess just opening to anyone from the group to toss out a view on that one.
Yeah, well, just really quickly. So I'm not convinced that they're necessarily a discrete group. In that, and it was exactly the same with Gen Y, there's an awful lot of trend bleed between people of different age groups. And I think youth culture has obviously always been different to older culture, and older has been different to even older. But you do get a lot of trending up of youth culture, and it's one of the reasons why maintaining brand equity across different demographics is so hard. And we were having this chat before, because as soon as mum and dad start doing it, a little bit less cool, and you get, depending on your parents, I suppose, mine definitely less cool, although you wouldn't know it, but tough crowd. So you get a lot of bleed across it. But that said, I think the Gen Z thing is useful for exactly the same reason the Gen Y thing was useful. It's because it's a great shortcut to understand really big picture defining trends that will impact business. And I still meet a lot of people in the work we do with clients around the world who are like, this generation thing isn't real. Just so happens that the same company's having all sorts of trouble attracting and retaining young staff. Figure that out. But I think you ignore or you dismiss the generational thing at your peril, but I think you also look at it as gospel at your peril. And it's in that middle ground of going, these are useful big picture summations of really important trends that will start there and trend up, is that kind of sweet spot, I think.
Are we seeing different traits coming through from what we call Generation Y? And just reminding people that Gen Y would be 31 at the upper end and probably 19 or 20 at the lower end now. So, I mean, Rupert and Dom, you're working, very directly with both groups. Are you seeing different characteristics starting to come through?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I said before, you know, when we started Gideon Shoes, you know, my brother and I went to Street University, which is one of the programs that the Ted Noffs Foundation runs. It's out in southwest Sydney. It's for street kids, and it's an educational facility, Australia's largest drop-in youth centre. So we went out there and said, we're setting up a fashion label. What do you want? What do you care about? And, you know, because essentially this is for you guys. And they were saying, well, ethics, you know, they're concerned about ethics, and they don't want things to be made like everything else to be made in a sweatshop in China. You know, so I really think that they care about sustainability. They don't like that everyone's kind of sick of these big, you know, big scary companies, you know, polluting and, you know, mass producing. They really care. You know, I was speaking to my 8-year-old cousin last night, and I said, have you got an iPad? Because, you know, one of my, you know, a friend of mine in New York City, she's got an iPad and she's 9. And I said to Max, do you have an iPad? He said, no, I don't need that. I've got an iPod Touch. Why do I need that? I was like, wow, you know, that's pretty amazing. Because I remember when I was a kid, I wanted everything. I didn't really, you know, I just wanted a mini motorbike. Every Christmas I wanted a mini motorbike, and I didn't get it. So yeah, I really think that they care about the ethics, and I really, you know, about sustainability, but and they're really pragmatic. So that's what we're really seeing at Ted Noffs, yeah.
Okay, so just looking at where do you find Generation Z? We're talking about channels, platforms, technology here. Again, opening to the group, maybe throwing to you first, Paul, because you're with a media entity at the moment with multi-channel network. Where would you be recommending people start when it comes to actually connecting from a channel perspective?
The easy answer when it comes to Gen Z is online. All kids are, you know, all teenagers, they're all online. My biggest issue with that is the internet is a very, very big place. And something we found through MCN and Foxtel and previous roles is that you know, you really want people to come to you, and that's what kind of engagement with young people is all about. And really at the heart of that is that content is kind of king. Now, whether that's being integrated with a show or being integrated with a website or actually doing your own website or your own content, it really doesn't matter as long as you do it well. And one of the key things that we find, you know, that's big on the internet is this idea of entertainment. And you know, everybody loves to be entertained, and teenagers are no different. In fact, they, you know, they just love it. Probably the best case study and probably one of the best youth marketers in the world is Red Bull. And they've been doing it. They've had this kind of content solution for probably 15, 20 years, and they're absolutely amazing at it. So they go away and they do great big events that are really cool to kind of go to. And so they, you know, they're interacting with people on the ground. But what they do exceptionally well is actually create really good moving image footage from those events, then distribute it. And interestingly, what they do is they actually have this kind of media hub in a vault in Switzerland or something like that, where they actually then go away and take that content and sell it on to broadcasters. So they're essentially getting free advertising by selling really good content to platforms. So I say if you subscribe to the the Red Bull YouTube channel, it's pretty amazing to watch.
And having an online existence is just not enough these days for teenagers. What they want to be able to do is to create their own, say for example in Habbo, they'll use the tools that we have to create their own games in Habbo. So it's not just user-generated content, it's user-generated games. So you design a game, create the game, invite your friends to play in the game, become famous and get the respect of your friends because you've put together a really good game, and then have that shared by other people. The same thing applies to room building, and so having an existence is, everyone's got the existence online, but it's taking it to the next level and actually sharing the creations that you've made online with friends. That's the next thing.
I think Westfields. The teenagers, we've got quite a large now retail footprint that we've built in the last 12 months, and it's all about that. That they spend a disproportionate amount of time in a shopping centre, and it's teenagers in Westfield. It's been the same way for 30 years, and I don't think it's
Mall
changing.
rats. Yeah, mall rats.
Mall rats.
Yeah, yeah.
But the last question from me before seeing if there's any questions out there in the audience, the subtleties of communicating with Generation Z. advice from the panel, you know, how would you recommend people approach their communication with this demographic?
Twitter and Facebook is seriously the best thing in the world. You know, we update all the time, you know, on Facebook.
Even on stage.
Yeah. And, you know, they respond, they ask questions, they say, you know, with everything, you know, when are you guys on sale, or where can I get your shoes? So it's great. And we leave it open for discussion, even if they say, oh, you know, anything. So I think Twitter and Facebook is amazing for communication with that generation. Yeah.
What about the tone of the conversation, the style of it, that sort of thing?
I'd say that the most important thing is to actually ask yourselves, what can you add to the community? It's because any of these sites, it's a community of Generation Z, and you need to ask, how can my brand add something to them? What can I do for them? How can I make their online existence better? How can I entertain them? So you've got to think to yourself, you've got to think that you're actually entering their world. You can't go in there sort of shouting, here I am, look at me. You need to be saying, how can I actually add something, do something, entertain them, and that will require a bit of a different approach.
I really love the idea that you know, you've got these two forces happening at any one time. You've got the Generation Z's love of kind of social commentary through Facebook or Twitter or whatever platform they decide to use, but also, as the research showed, that there's this idea of kind of multimedia tasking or media meshing. So they're watching TV, but they're also online, and they're seeing an ad outside, outdoor ad, but also maybe kind of texting the number or kind of using the QR code. And the idea behind this is that for a broadcaster and hopefully for clients further down the track is this idea of transmedia, which is essentially taking a consumer on a journey through lots of different types of media, which is the bed of engagement in marketing, admittedly, but it's given a fancy name these days. And probably the two examples I have from a kind of a media perspective was Top Model on Fox 8, one of the #1 shows on the platform, was that the chat after the show. So every show they expel someone from the show, and there's always a call to action to go onto the Fox 8 website to actually chat with the expelled contestant. The traffic on the site goes nuts, and it's a combination of people just wanting to chat, but also people that don't have kind of subscription television in their households wanting to find out who won. The other one was an event that happened during Top Model last year, which was obviously the little hiccup they had with the winner announcement.
Oh my God, I don't know what to say right now. I'm feeling a bit sick about this. No. I'm so sorry about this. Oh my God. I don't know what to say. This was a complete accident. I'm so sorry. It's Amanda. I'm so sorry. It was fed to me wrong.
It's okay,
Oh,
Sarah.
God.
It's okay.
This is what happens when you have live TV, folks. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
This is insane. Insane.
So everybody was sat on their sofa and kind of saw this thing, had this live event happen, but there was no media around it actually kind of talking about it. And actually, you had to go onto Twitter to kind of find out what was going on, and it literally exploded. But one of the funniest things was it was Mumbrella, just about a bit of sunshine up their asses, that actually picked up on the story first. So what you had was these 13-year-old girls commenting on Mumbrella about a thing they've actually just seen on TV. It was probably some of the most intelligent commentary there's ever been on Mumbrella. But it was just, they were grasping at different places to kind of, go out and get their opinion or get their commentary ahead. So it's this idea of, if you're a client or an advertiser, this whole transmedia taking people through lots of different platforms, which I think is really, really interesting.